Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, takes Mary Jane Watson to the park. She explains that now they're together, she worries it might not be safe for him with people after her. She claims that they both tend to attract the attention of supervillains like Dormammu, Hydro Man, and even Venom. Peter reassures her, claiming that this happens in New York and that all that matters is that they love and have each other, which they kiss. Meanwhile, an old man finds an odd contraption in the park and pawns it for quick cash. When he was trying to convince the pawnbroker, calling it a servo-controlled incendiary optometer, suddenly the device acted up and opened a wormhole in the middle of New York City. Stuff quickly gets sucked into the wormhole, and civilians start to panic. Peter convinces Mary Jane to let him go and cover the story, to which she begrudgingly agrees. Spider-Man quickly arrives on the scene and saves both the old man and the pawnbroker. He quickly runs outside after securing their safety to confirm his suspicions that it is the time dilation accelerator. Spider-Man grabs the device and hopes it has enough power to close the portal when Hobgoblin arrives to steal it out of nowhere. Hobgoblin flies past Spider-Man, to which he loses his balance and nearly gets sucked into the wormhole. Before Hobgoblin flies away, Spider-Man shoots a webbing that pulls him out of the portal. Hobgoblin furiously discovers that Spider-Man hitched a ride under his glider, to which he cuts his web and escapes into a portal. With no buildings around to latch his web onto, Spider-Man creates a parachute with his webbings and safely lands in the water. Later, Hobgoblin uses the device to rob a bank, but is furious when he barely passes through the portal, having torn his cape. He worried that he could have been dismembered if it was an arm or a leg, and suspects the device must be running out of power. He quickly meets with his informant, who is working for Kingpin, but is worried that Hobgoblin showing up will get him caught spying for him. Hobgoblin demands he give him a power pack for the time dilation accelerator. His informant explains that this is the last one after Kingpin ordered him to stop making them after he lost the accelerator in the vortex. Hobgoblin later visited Kingpin, who was meeting with the former head of the Brand Corporation, Herbert Landon. Kingpin has his men surround him, but Hobgoblin convinces them to stand down when he shows him he owns time dilation accelerator. Hobgoblin explains that he needs Kingpin's help to make the power pack. In exchange, he will take him with him when he hits the Federal Reserve Gold Repository. Landon claims that if they knew more about him, they could have easily destroyed Hobgoblin, to which Kingpin has an idea where to get the information. That night, Jason Massendale and Felicia Hardy held an engagement party with their friends and associates. Peter and Mary Jane attend the party to support their friend's engagement. Harry confronts Peter at the party, still disgruntled, claiming he has stolen his girlfriend. His boss, Jonah Jameson, is furious when he discovers Peter at the party and demands that he focus on his work. Felicia interrupts and insists that she borrow Peter to introduce him to her fiancé. When he is about to shake hands with Jason, Kingpin interrupts, feeling sorry for having Peter caught in jail one time. When Norman Osborn passes by, Kingpin excuses himself to talk to him privately. Peter suspects this must be important if Kingpin had to leave himself to meet Osborn. Kingpin confronts Osborn and demands he reveal the identity of the Hobgoblin. Osborn denies any connection to Hobgoblin, but Kingpin claims he created him. Osborn quickly breaks a sweat when he hears about Hobgoblin and tries to walk away, but Kingpin stops him from escaping. When he refuses to answer him, Kingpin threatens his son's life. Norman gives in and tells him to meet at Oscorp, promising to tell him everything. Norman runs to the bathroom, being reminded of when he was the Green Goblin. Facing the mirror, Norman sees the Green Goblin, who tries to convince him that he is only trying to help him, unlike Spider-Man, the Hobgoblin, or Kingpin, who tries to hurt him. He tries to fight off the temptation, but the Green Goblin is too hard to resist. Meanwhile, Kingpin meets with Hobgoblin as promised, agreeing to work together. While Hobgoblin opens a portal to the vault in the Federal Reserve, Kingpin sends his men to knock out the guards. Waiting for his men to return, Kingpin gets impatient when Spider-Man shows up and reveals to have foiled their plans. Spider-Man then takes the accelerator, but when Hobgoblin tries to take it back, Spider-Man warns him that if he tries to blow him up, so does the accelerator. He tries to escape, but Kingpin catches him off guard and knocks him to the ground. Kingpin then grabs Spider-Man and tries to crush him with his body while Hobgoblin picks up the accelerator he dropped to the ground. Spider-Man is struggling to break free when suddenly the wall blows up and Green Goblin arrives at the scene. Landon wonders if they should help, but Kingpin hopes that Green Goblin and Hobgoblin will destroy each other. Green Goblin ferociously attacks him, and when he realizes he has nothing to gain, Hobgoblin decides to escape, which Green Goblin and Spider-Man chase after him. As the battle in the air continues, Hobgoblin wonders where he got his weapons, claiming that Osborn gave him his best weapons, but Green Goblin claims Osborn has a new best friend. Hobgoblin uses the accelerator to escape into a portal, and Green Goblin is furious about losing him. Suddenly, Spider-Man gets the jump on him and insists that they talk it out, claiming to know that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin. Green Goblin gets Spider-Man off his back and throws a bomb at him, and he escapes by diving into the water. Back at the mansion, Felicia plans to renovate Jason's study when she discovers a hallowed wall behind the bookshelf. She became more curious when she opened the bookshelf to reveal a secret room containing a Hobgoblin costume and his weapons on a wall. Felicia is shocked by the horrific discovery when Hobgoblin arrives and reveals himself as Jason, her fiancé. She claims she can no longer marry him after discovering he is a criminal. Still, Jason insists, worried that she has already learned the truth, threatening her life if she refuses. When Felicia screams as Jason forces himself on her, suddenly the wall blows up and Green Goblin arrives. Jason was surprised to find him there. Worried about how he learned about his identity, Green Goblin declares that he knows everything about him and how Norman Osborn created him. When Jason tries to sneak a gun on him, Green Goblin disarms and drops him to the ground. Green Goblin takes the accelerator and opens a portal, ordering Jason and Felicia to go through it. Jason worries that the accelerator is low on power and could get them trapped in limbo, but Green Goblin insists. At Oscorp, Green Goblin ties up Jason and Felicia. Jason tries to convince him to turn sides, offering to pay more than Norman, but Green Goblin argues that he isn't in it for the money. Green Goblin explains that he only wants to make life easier for his creator, Norman Osborn. Once he has eliminated all his enemies, he won't have to suffer anymore. Spider-Man arrives but is surprised to discover that Jason is the Hobgoblin. Spider-Man reveals himself when they are about to be strung up, pulling the glider into the acid to prevent him from escaping. Green Goblin quickly runs to the control panel and lowers Jason and Felicia into a vat of boiling acid. He claims he no longer needs a glider when he can leap through other dimensions to which he escapes into a portal. Spider-Man jumps to save Jason and Felicia when a portal opens, and a bladed weapon cuts his web, nearly causing him to fall into his doom. Green Goblin grabs Spider-Man by the leg, celebrating his victory against his mortal enemy. Spider-Man wrestles his way into the portal and defeats Green Goblin, to which he saves the two just as they plunge into the acid. Spider-Man then takes Green Goblin's weapon and throws it to destroy the accelerator, which Green Goblin screams in anger. Refusing to give up, Green Goblin opens an unstable portal to which Spider-Man warns him that the device is too low on power and he could be trapped in limbo. Green Goblin claims he'd rather take his chances in limbo than get defeated by him. Felicia questions Jason and asks him why he became a criminal, to which he explains that he has nothing to begin with. He claims that he owes everything he has to crime, including hers. She confronts him and asks if he truly loves her, to which he claims he is unsure, but he admits loving her wealth, beauty, and refinement. Felicia claims that it's not true love, having experienced it, and explains that it is nothing like it. Later, cops arrive and take Jason away, to which Spider-Man tries to comfort a heartbroken Felicia. Felicia claims that every time she tries to love someone, disaster always strikes, as if she's destined to bring bad luck to everyone around her. Green Goblin returns to Oscorp, gathering enough residual energy to open a portal. He maniacally laughs, promising to take revenge upon his enemies like Kingpin, Hobgoblin, and especially Spider-Man after he modifies the accelerator device. The next episode opens up with Spider-Man telling Madame Web that he wants to end their relationship. When she asks him why he wants to do that, he explains that Mary Jane loves him and that he now has everything that he could have ever wanted. He claims that he does not have time for her games. Despite her reservations, Madame Web agrees to part ways, but before Spider-Man leaves, she warns him that he will miss her wisdom when a two-headed monster makes its appearance. Not deterred by the warning, Spider-Man leaves, parting ways with Madame Web for the final time. Meanwhile, Green Goblin asks Osborn when he will be finished. Osborn, who was working on a secret project, tells the Green Goblin to be patient, claiming that the interdimensional spot technology is extremely delicate, and he does not know if it will be stable once they miniaturize it. The Green Goblin claims that with the new tech in his hands, he will be able to defeat all of their enemies. When Osborn asks him what they will do about Spider-Man since he is the only one who knows that they are allies, Green Goblin tells him that they are going to get rid of Spider-Man. Using the device, they open up a portal that leads them to Earth, where they begin attacking civilians. As expected, Spider-Man shows up and tries to stop them, but before he can do anything, they disappear. Since he knows their identity, Spider-Man claims that he is going to catch the two of them, knowing that they are working together. He makes his way to Oscorp but finds it empty. Then he heads to Osborn's mansion, where he once again does not find any sign of the two of them. As Spider-Man flies around the city trying to find Osborn and the Green Goblin, he realizes that there is something wrong with his spidey senses. He wonders if his mutation disease is returning, but soon brushes it off. Despite the obvious signs of danger, Spider-Man decides that the Green Goblin has left, which is why he takes off his mask so that he can go and meet Mary Jane for a coffee date. Unaware that the Osborn and the Green Goblin have messed with his spidey senses and are watching him reveal his identity in front of them. Once Spider-Man takes his mask off, the Green Goblin is taken aback when he realizes that his greatest enemy is a young boy. At the same time, Osborn recognizes Spider-Man, claiming that he is Peter Parker, a friend of his son Harry. Not wanting Osborn to change his mind about getting rid of Spider-Man, the Green Goblin manipulates him into thinking that Peter was playing with his son in order to get to him. On the other hand, once Peter walks away from the Green Goblin, his spidey senses return back to normal, and he brushes off his experience earlier as just another glitch. He then heads to a cafe where he meets Mary Jane for coffee. She reveals that Harry has hosted a huge party and asks Peter if they can attend it. At first, Peter tries to back out of it, but Mary Jane manages to convince him, claiming that they need to respect Harry's feelings since he saw Peter getting with her as a betrayal of their friendship. Later that night, the two of them, dressed to the nines, arrive at Osborn's mansion. As the two of them head inside, they greet Harry and thank him for the invite in hopes that this would mend their friendship. However, Harry has no interest in talking to them and leaves after telling them that he only invited them upon his father's request. Confused, Peter begins to grow suspicious but remains at the party to please Mary Jane. Not long after that, Osborn comes to meet Peter and shakes his hand. To Peter's surprise, Osborn uses a great amount of strength to squeeze his hand. Peter realizes that the only reason his arm is not broken is because of his spider strength. Sometime later, Osborn gathers everyone for dinner and asks Peter how he is able to take up close photos of Spider-Man. This is when Peter realizes that Osborn knows his secret identity. As Osborn continues to talk, claiming that he and Peter both share a secret, Peter tries to come up with a distraction. He excuses himself from the table and heads into the living room, where he causes a fire to erupt. To his relief, this saves him from having to answer any of Osborn's questions that would reveal his identity in front of Mary Jane and their friends. As everyone evacuated the building, Peter headed back inside, looking around for Osborn. When the Green Goblin appears behind him, Peter realizes that Madam Web was right about a two-headed monster since both Osborn and the Green Goblin have merged. In his hurry, Peter forgets that he is not wearing his web shooters. This gives the Green Goblin a chance to capture him using a hard metal that Peter is unable to break out of. As the Green Goblin flies up in the sky with Peter tied behind him, he begins to boast about his victory and how he has managed to bring down the great Spider-Man. While he is busy talking, Peter uses this chance to grab his web shooters and put them on. He then shoots out a web that causes them to land on a rooftop. Acting quickly, Peter burns the strong metal and manages to get himself free. Once again donning his Spider-Man mask, the young superhero takes on the Green Goblin. Knowing that he does not stand a chance against Spider-Man, the Green Goblin uses the minimized time dilation accelerator and opens up a portal before disappearing through it. Just as he is leaving, Osborn reveals that since Peter went after Harry, he is going to go after his loved ones. Knowing that they are targeting Aunt May, Spider-Man rushes back to his house, only to find that she is sleeping. All of a sudden, the Green Goblin opens up a portal inside the house and appears in Aunt May's house. However, once he notices that she is asleep, he claims that he is going to go after his co-conspirator. Confused by what he meant, Spider-Man thinks long and hard about it until he realizes that Osborn had thought that he and Mary Jane had planned to betray Harry. As his spidey senses begin to tickle, Spider-Man rushes to find Mary Jane before the Green Goblin can get to her. On the other hand, Mary Jane, who was having tea with her aunt, tells her about Peter disappearing after the fire broke out, claiming that he must have taken Osborn to the hospital. When her aunt hears this, she tells Mary Jane that Peter is only going to break her heart since he is not good for anything. While Mary Jane is trying to convince her aunt that Peter is good to her, the Green Goblin arrives at their house and uses his knockout gas to knock both Mary Jane and her aunt out. By the time Spider-Man gets there, he finds her unconscious aunt with no sign of Mary Jane. Just then, he notices the Green Goblin carrying Mary Jane and flying away with her. Despite knowing that the Green Goblin is leading him into a trap, Spider-Man follows him, desperate to save Mary Jane. The Goblin stops on top of the Brooklyn Bridge and drops Mary Jane in front of him. When Spider-Man gets there, he tries to talk to Osborn in hopes that there is some human part of him left that would not be okay with the Green Goblin killing the only person his son Harry cares about. To Spider-Man's surprise, this brings Osborn to the surface, who then tries to fight the Green Goblin on this. While they are both busy arguing amongst themselves, Spider-Man takes this chance to swing towards them and knocks them down, causing the accelerator to slip out of their hands, causing him to topple over the bridge. Before he can plummet to the ground, the young superhero grabs his hand and pulls him up. However, this backfires as the Green Goblin throws his explosives at him. At the same time, Spider-Man notices a conscious but drowsy Mary Jane leaning over the ledge. Seeing this, the Green Goblin uses his knockout gas again. Mary Jane loses consciousness again and topples over the ledge. Spider-Man lets his instincts take over as he jumps to rescue her. While they are distracted, the Green Goblin quickly climbs up on the bridge to try and grab the accelerator, but drops several explosives while trying to be quick. As the bridge begins to collapse, Mary Jane falls over, along with the device. On their way down, the accelerator gets activated. Mary Jane falls into the portal just as it closes up. Since Spider-Man had not seen where Mary Jane went, he assumes that she fell into the river below and jumps into the water. After looking around for several minutes, he comes up empty. Angry, he attacks the Green Goblin, who had managed to grab the device. The Green Goblin laughs manically, claiming that Spider-Man will never be able to catch him since he has his trusty device to help him out. When he tries to open up a portal, he realizes that the device was damaged during the fall. He then quickly repairs it and manages to open a portal, but realizes that something is off as the portal tries to drag him in. Seeing this, Spider-Man claims that the Green Goblin has created an imbalance between the gravitational pull of their dimension and the vortex. He then pushes the Green Goblin towards the vortex. The Goblin grabs onto a metal pipe before bringing Osborn to the surface. When Osborn realizes where he is, he begs Spider-Man to help him. Despite his anger, Spider-Man realizes that revenge will not bring Mary Jane back. As he tries to grab Osborn's arm, the Green Goblin resurfaces and lets go of the metal pipe, causing him to disappear into the vortex. Once the portal closes, Spider-Man begins to feel helpless and calls Madam Web for help. Soon, he finds himself in front of her and begs her to help him. However, she tells him that he made his choice and now must live with the consequences of his decisions. Angered by this, Spider-Man tells her that he is done with her and that he does not want to see her again. Once again, Madam Web agrees to honor his wishes and vanishes. Left alone without Mary Jane, Spider-Man realizes that he is alone and that he needs to find a way to rescue Mary Jane as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.